Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Wells of Wall Street. We've got an update video here on XinFin XDC. Before we go into the chart in a bit more detail, let's just take a look at a couple of top line info pieces here. So we've got the AMA coming up with Minu from the Blockchain Hustle and from Wadzpay as well. So the interlacing, of course, with XinFin quite recently. So there's an opportunity, guys, for Ask Me Anything coming up on their YouTube stream, I believe. Not too far off. It's in a few hours time. If you've just woken up and you're watching this after it happens, of course you can watch it back on their platform. But in general, I think it's a great opportunity for people to ask questions, whether it be Wadzpay related, or I'm sure they'll answer some questions that you might have with XinFin. So if you out there think that XinFin or XDC is a scam or something, you can ask them from the horse's mouth, as it were, and ask them do they think it is as well. Obviously they're going to say no, because they've just done a multi-million pounds worth of partnerships and operation here, guys. So very much doubt that. So look out for that. That's going to be quite interesting. And I just wanted as well, again, before we go into the top line stuff. So Andre Casterman, of course, massive consultants in the sort of financial industry. So well over 20 years of Swift experience. I think he actually worked for Swift, in terms of payment processing and everything like that. But he's very much in behind the sort of interoperability of banking systems, payment systems, and obviously DLT is a big thing at the moment with blockchain, of course, with the finance industry. He has big links with the ICC in terms of the Chamber of Commerce, internationally as well. But of course, recently as well, his aspect of ITFA. Now this kind of interlaces as well with that fact of XinFin with their partnership with the WOA, which is the World of Open Account. Quite recently as well. I think it was a couple months ago, but at the end of this month, on the 30th of November, there is indeed something you can watch where you will be able to watch the Casterman's advisory. So he will obviously be present in that aspect as well, and there'll be a little, I believe, a video or something going on there as well. So keep an eye out for those two bits of information and aspects of being able to potentially join in a bit of Q&A if you have any questions on XinFin and the other partnerships going on around the world. So guys, let's jump into the chart now. So, well, it hasn't really moved, to be honest, since the last video. We've done previous videos of trying to get it to hold its 10 cent support line. Didn't quite make that. We've been floating downwards as low as this, and I was bagging a lot more XDC for sure. I want to get out of my minnow status. For those that didn't watch the XDC scam unpopular opinions video, go check that out. We also showcased some really cool posts on Twitter about what fish are you, subject to how much XDC you are holding. So go check that out and let us know in the comments below what XDC fish you are. But yeah, I'm very much trying to push myself. I think the next one up is a jellyfish. I'm not sure if I'm happy about being a jellyfish or not, but as long as I've got a bit of a sting in my tail, and so does XDC, and takes us up to new highs, that's all I care about. But for sure right now, guys, we're floating around this area. It's really great interest in this area because if we go back in history, obviously this is KuCoin's data, so doesn't go all the way back as what you might see in other exchange listings like Bitrue, but I'm really interested in this because we of course come back to these areas where we had this big shoot up here on the 8th of August, for example, and pretty much over the 2-3 day period we really shot past it. And if you remember in one of the previous videos, we circled this area as of great interest because of the aspect of it shooting up and down, so volatile aspect of it in this short period of time. But then of course we did this big price discovery element around the areas of sort of mid-August towards the end of September, and since then we didn't really have any kind of like support mechanism. So the only real like points of interest we have, particularly in this chart when launched on KuCoin, is literally around this area, and we can go even back to the 4th of July area as well. Look at these drop points. So it's very much where the top end is in most recent times in the last week or so. And then as I said, we're comparing back to here. There really isn't much element of support. So I think what I'll do in the next video is I'll compare this with one of the other database charts, but either way, even in this short term of a few months, it's quite clear that there's a lot of movement and activity around this as basically trying to find this new level of support. So we obviously had these low areas around here at 4 cents, which was where I first sort of got into XDC, majority of my bags, to be honest. Let us know in the comments below what price point you got in at XDC at. But what I like is this nice stepping stone approach. We've obviously come down to try and figure out, can we actually get this trend line going? And actually, if you look closely, we're very much tailing into that. So I think actually we're on the verge of flipping this. I don't think we will be coming down much further at all. I think we're getting very good stability here. We've already had the touch points down here to this sort of area around 0.0844, and that's kind of confirming the big trigger points along this line as well. So in my opinion, I believe that over the next couple of days or so, we will start seeing some really good action into this in terms of neutrality and taking this up to another level. Let's have a look at a few other things. So obviously the volumes up here are still in a bit of a negative mode in terms of the last 2 days. Okay, so compared to other days, it's not as big. But what I like here is this switch over. So in the MACD here, we've got a switch over point here. The gap is actually widening, albeit not massive, and I don't really want to see massive gap widenings because that just generally means a bit more volatility coming or falsification in regards to our actual movement, and then you start seeing the dive downs as confidence gets dropped. But I think what's happening now, like right now, in my opinion, is generally the force behind XDC now. What I mean by that is just the pressure from these lower regions. It's clear that we've had resistance here at this 0.0844, and it's very much saying to us like, well, actually, we want to try and float this above 9 cents as much as possible in this period of time. So this is why you're seeing here on the histogram the switch over from this essentially overselling period that we had back at the end of October fading off. Now we're switching over to this. Now this isn't going to suggest that this is immediately going to have a nice big green wave like here, or maybe in previous times like down here. But what it will start indicating is positivity back into the equation. The RSI has been all over the place recently. It has been volatile in that aspect because what's happened is there's been a lot of shakeouts. There's been a lot of FUD out there from certain YouTube channels and stuff, and to an extent, and enough influence to put people off. Now, I'm going with what someone said on Twitter. Actually, there's a multitude of people coming out with this nice new kind of themed wording in Twitter. It says, "Please remember that crypto Twitter is irrelevant." And I'm totally behind this aspect. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of community projects out there that require social media to push the drive and the engagement of a new project. But as I mentioned in the scam video, or the non-scam video in this particular situation of XDC, is that there is too much institutional value behind this project. And there's too much of a market behind this project for it to be a scam, first of all. But more importantly, as I reiterate, XinFin, amongst many other financial institutional related projects, do not need to appease the people on Twitter. Of course, I want to see more updates. Of course, I want to see them. But you have to dive a bit deeper in other areas to find the information. Or in fact, you won't even find most of the information at all because, as I said in that video, there used to be a lot of XDC information on the XinFin website about partnerships and things, and they removed that. You now have to be a partner, and I totally understand that, and I'll reiterate that many companies do that to protect themselves, to protect NDAs, to protect potential partnerships in the future. If we're going down the route of KYC and know your customer and know your business and trustworthiness, data protection, etc., do you think an institutional company would come to a company like XinFin if it was not like that? And if all the information was spread out for everyone to read, do you honestly think a big institution will come into a company like that? No, they will sign up to a portal and they will know that everything's confidential, and that if they need any information, they have their own specific account managers and specific people to talk to. They will not broadcast, what their goings on in the Twitter sphere. So that's why I'm bringing this point about where we are in the chart. I think personally, this is obviously a massively undervalued project in general in terms of the price, But for me, look, I'll be honest, like, of course I want to see rises in prices in this bull run, or this upcoming bull run next few months. But in my mind, and stick with me here, in my mind, majority of these financial institution related projects, and we're talking about like maybe the triple X crypto in particular, for example, XRP, XDC, XLM, will be switched on maybe next year when the CBDCs around the world, and I focus on CBDCs in particular because this is a huge thing, right? This is about transitioning our existing financial system that has been around for centuries, and arguably in its digital format for the last at least maybe 40 years or something. You can't turn that off overnight. There's massive infrastructure in place, payment systems, processing systems that have to be coordinated, hence the interoperability and the bridging aspect of all these different things, the trustworthiness, the protection, and how consumers as well as institutional levels will use, operate, adopt, and utilize this kind of new way of financial working. So that's why I reiterate the point about sticking with these projects that are so undervalued, have so much in the future going for them, who are bringing out various different partnerships, and they do get announced as and when they happen, to be fair, albeit not ones about business relations, and that's rightly so, as we just mentioned. But for me, if you do your own research into XinFin and what it's about and how the blockchain works, both in a hybrid format for public and private sectors, who it's dealing with, it has quarter nodes, for example, we've gone through that before. It's working with a multitude of different levels of organizations, governments, and maybe beyond that. This is why I feel there's pressure here now, because we've had the correction, we've had the shakeout of what I would call weak hands, and that's not being derogative or anything like that, because people have a right to question things, be concerned if they feel concerned about it. But I would say, do your own research. My thoughts and opinions are not financial advice. Go and do your own research. And if you think it's a scam coin, come into the comments now and tell us why you think it is, with definitive, substantial information and evidence behind it. Because I've already given you a multitude of evidence to be pro XDC and XinFin, and I will continue to throw things out there, left, right, and centre, that will continue to push that point. I don't have an emotional value attachment to XinFin XDC. It has no bearing of my life. I'm just invested in it because I've miraculously got the opportunity to do so as a general Joe public person, which is an incredible feat in itself to be able to have this opportunity that we should be grateful for. And two, I just know what's coming, with not just with CBDC, with the general aspect of the world, the way the world's going into tokenomics, digital currency. This is one of the big players in there, guys. So we'll wrap this up, guys, just emphasizing that I feel there's a lot of pressure around this 9 cent mark. So we're currently floating literally just above that. This 8.7 mark is always a really big point in my mind. If it ever goes to 0.087, I start buying more up. And do you know what? I think a lot of other people out there do as well. Generally believe that. We can see that these areas get hit not for very long at all, and then all of a sudden they shoot back up to around this 9 cent mark. So there's very much a big testing ground going on right now, but I feel that in the next 2-3 days we're in a really good position here to really start switching this around. I'm not sure what kind of shape we'll get. I know people talk about like cups and handles and all this stuff. Like in general, I don't really know what shape we'll possibly end up with. I mean, we had that here, but right now we're sort of really testing where is the real definitive price of XDC. And I will reiterate, the new low highs or higher lows, every single time. And now we're just taking our time a bit longer on this aspect. It's almost similar to this area here, not far off it. I'm not saying it's going to be identical shape, because it's not, but it's that pressure system. It's that pressure system, especially here, of saying, yeah, we're going to come back down a bit more just to test. And it was like, okay, 7.2, off we go. See you later. Done. And we come back, we have the correction around what was it, 50-60% in total probably. And like I said in many videos, I think that's a very respectable percentage reduction. It never usually in the proper projects, it never happens overnight. It will happen over a period of time. And let's look at that, 21st of August all the way to now. That's how long it's taken to get to this point here. From that, what was it, 20 cents all-time high? It was 19.52 to under 10 cents. It's taken that long. And that is literally patience, guys. And I will continue to be patient myself. I'm in for the long run. Like I said, I don't particularly care what happens in the next few months. I'm interested in when CBDCs launch, probably from next November onwards. And I'm very interested in XDC in about 3-4 years' time in the next big run, and maybe beyond that. This is one of those kind of projects like XRP, XLM, and many others out there, of course, very undervalued. Why are they undervalued? Because they're not fully adopted yet, and the real world mechanism isn't in place yet. When all that gets switched on, guys, forget this. We will have to be moving way up this chart, and we will be looking back at this as some silly little line at the bottom. That's my opinion. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Are you holding XDC for the long run, the short term? What are you doing? When did you enter XDC? If you think it's a terrible coin or it's this, that and the other, tell us all why. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next XDC video, and I truly believe in the next few days we're going to see some uprising in XDC. Bye bye.